Good afternoon, everyone. This is NuPath Live. Welcome. My name is Dan Harrison. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these, and this one is a special broadcast that we had not had on the schedule. And the reason for it is that yesterday we concluded our CARF accreditation survey. Now, those of you who don't know, this is something that we do with regularity. We are required parts of it by law, but it is also a way for us to ensure the integrity of our services, all of it. And so, what we're going to do right now is we are going to share with you some clips from a business meeting that we had today where we talked about the results of the survey, which were fantastic. I'll be here at the other side to wrap up, but we hope you enjoy this. Some of it may be a little bit more than what you were looking for, but I hope you enjoy it. It's kind of an inside look at how well we did with CARF. All right, enjoy, everyone. Yes, you guys, I've been through many CARF surveys in my professional career, and for some reason, yesterday, being at the exit interview or whatever they call it, the exit meeting, where the various directors and the senior staff were together, I just felt this so much. Just I was bursting with pride because so many of the commendations and the things that they listed were things that were they're so important to me fundamentally as the CEO of this organization. I mean, I know that and Ted can speak more specifically to this. We only had 4 recommendations out of more than 1,000 something standards that they reviewed, and CARF hates it when you try to convert that to a percentage, but we do it anyway, and that works out to about a 99.9% success rate. And that's a lot of stuff to get right. And I know that you guys have been working extra hard, and that's probably not even saying it strongly enough, but ferociously, you've been working since even before our DDS licensing, and it's got to feel great to just say, oh, thank God, we don't have to be doing that anymore. But I think we also need to take time to pat ourselves on the back, to pat you on the back, and to sort of just take joy in our collective response. You know how an organization behaves, performs, I don't whatever word you want to use there, during times of crisis, when times where we are called collectively to respond to something. I wouldn't call CARF a crisis, but in times of crisis as well, we need to know that we are there to unify, to work collegially, to work effectively, and to achieve outcomes. And those seem like such fuzzy things, but in practice, it's very hard to do that well. And once again, you guys have come together, and we've moved this organization through something that has been really most exemplary. Another quick funny story, Ted and I were talking just before the meeting began, and I said, Ted, I didn't take many notes because I was just like on cloud 9 or something, listening to them go through the list. And Ted said, well, I didn't really. He goes, there were just so many of them. I couldn't even have written them down if I tried. And we laughed at that because it sounded like one of those luxury problems. There's so many, we didn't know what to do. Embarrassment of riches. But I'll tell you the ones that meant the most to me. They so specifically talked about the treatment that they received from our field staff everywhere they went. If you're somebody that had occasion to show them your program, to interact with them, thank you, because they felt that every single place they went and every site, every interaction they had, and even were fantastic. And even beyond that, they mentioned a couple of times how many of their commendations kind of overlapped, that they were saying the same things. They were talking about the mission focus, about the united sort of spirit of the generousness, how gracious people were. And they said that they do sometimes they'll strip away duplicate comments when surveyors have duplicated, but they felt that in this case it was so significant because that showed that it was uniform. It wasn't just one division. It wasn't just one program that had, a particularly enhanced sort of professionalism, but it was across the organization widely. And that just felt so significant to me. The other big thing, and there were others, maybe Ted can introduce, and we're gonna, I'm just gonna, as soon as I stop talking, I'm gonna ask each of the directors that were there yesterday and that led this organization through CARF to share maybe the one thing that they are most proud of, and maybe one area that they think they'll try to work on, or that they maybe a consultation or something that they heard that they thought would that they're gonna focus on. James, we'll start with you because you kind of had a head start, but I'm just going to finish this last thing. The other thing that they were just crazy about was navigating life. Now, we've been talking about navigating life with CARF for at least 2 other surveys, representing a span of 6 years, maybe even before that. I can't remember how early they came on when we were talking about it. And they've demonstrated sort of, casual interest or professional sort of interest, but when we were in the meeting, they just really raved about it, and we're talking about getting them set up. They said they want to share this with any other organizations, and we'll see where it goes. But it just was really encouraging to have this group. One of the surveyors had done over 300 surveys. I mean, I just can't even fathom what that would mean, going to all these different agencies. But the number of organizations they see on an annual basis, and they've seen nothing like what we're using with Navigating Life. And that just felt like another, I don't know, to me, it felt like a real shot in the arm, a real boost to my spirit that we've been at this a long time. We're really moving things forward. I know it sounds like I probably always say that, but that I feel so strongly that we're at the cusp of starting to see some real return on this. And again, I want to thank all of you that we're able to talk about that, and we're able to share that success with the surveyors as they came out. But in the interest of time, Ted, you want to take the recommendations and then kick it to the directors, or do you want to directors?
Yeah, that might work. I'll set the stage before we go to the directors. So I couldn't be prouder today. I've worked with pretty much everybody on this call over the last 6 months, be it with licensing, going into CARF. I just wrote down some percentages. If this was the end of the year report card, we'd be high honors. We had day services come out of licensing with 93% of indicators met. We had residential come out with 96% of indicators met. And then to finish it off, as Dan said, even though CARF doesn't put it in percentages, we certainly can do the math. 99.9%. That's pretty good. And that I'm understating it, of course. It's awesome. We really demonstrated what we do well. CARF. Just for anybody who wasn't directly involved in the process or didn't ask the question in advance, CARF is the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. It is our national accreditation. It's a national accreditation from an international organization. And that's important, that we're held to the standards of every agency that engages in the CARF process, not only nationally, but they also take best practices and set these standards with their international experience as well. What we had over the 3-day period is we had 4 surveyors come in. That was more than we usually have. In the past, we've only had 3 surveyors, and adding that 4th surveyor gave a more in-depth. There were more programs that they were able to look at. There were more standards that they were able to look at. So I would say it was a more intensive process than we've experienced in the past. And we came out as well as we could have possibly hoped. But really for us, it's not hope. We came out as I think we expected to represent ourselves. The 4 surveyors, as Dan said, one surveyor had over 300 surveys under their belt. Collectively, they've seen over 500 organizations. They're able to hold us to that standard, but they're also able to give us feedback from what they've seen in 500 organizations. So it's a real valuable process in what, not only how they're able to look at things, but also what they're able to give us. They came to us from Illinois, Ohio, Virginia, and one surveyor from the DC area. They were practitioners, they were program operation practitioners, they were executives, and one had the dual lens of not only as an executive, but also as a family member. And, when I heard him talking about the strengths, he had shared with me before he arrived that he can't separate himself from having a family member who receives services, and that he always looks at an agency first of, would I be comfortable and happy with my sister here? And the last thing he said is, without a doubt, that no doubt he would be happy with his sister receiving services from NuPath. So, we hear that from our own families, but also to hear that from a surveyor that's specifically evaluating us was special. As Dan mentioned, there were 1,100 standards that they looked at. We only got 4 recommendations. I'll get into the recommendations in just a second, but when they looked at the 1,100 standards, they looked at everything. They looked at finance, they looked at our board of directors, they looked at our legal compliance, they looked at our facilities, they looked at our workforce development, both from HR and training, they looked at our clinical services, our rights. There's nothing that they didn't look at. There was no stone uncovered in this evaluation. 25% of it was on the admin operations, 75% of the resources were dedicated to operations. And that's why we're going to finish off hearing from the directors on their takeaways. The recommendations. So there were 4 recommendations out of 1,100. That's really not many at all. One was that they recommended in our transportation that while our practice is very strong, that we have emergency safety binders in all of our vehicles. What they recommended is they found in a couple, with the number of vehicles we have, 1 or 2 had gone missing, and just having a checkpoint to make sure that those binders are always up to date and available in the vans. As you know, our practice is we train all of our staff on those exact same safety policies every single year. So from a competency perspective, I don't expect staff to open up a binder to read how to do something. I expect them to take the training and the drills that they've gone through over the course of the year. But it is a standard, and we will comply with that. There is a standard for exit summaries when somebody leaves our service, that we close out their record. And the standard is that we do a end of service synopsis, of what did they receive for services, and were these services effective, so that it can be passed on to the next provider. And while we had the system in place, they just felt that we could strengthen that history a little bit better. And we're going to look at that on how we can make a more comprehensive exit summary when somebody does choose to leave services. Performance appraisals. This was an interesting one because they loved our performance appraisals, but what they've recommended us is to not do it just the way we've always done it, because we've always done it that way, but to think outside of the box. And they recommended that we look at a process that is best for our situation, for our employees. With the length of our retention, while it's typical to do annual performance appraisals, they recommended us to look at other milestones that might be more meaningful and appropriate for our employees. And they really, I think the recommendation was inviting us to give up the past practices and really think about and take the leap of finding something that's better for us and better for our employees. And then finally, while we seem to have drills for every possible emergency situation, their experience saw a way of doing things differently. Instead of drilling on every possible emergency, what their recommendation is to look at what is your desired outcome, meaning whether it's to find a safe zone in a facility or to evacuate outside of the facility. They recommended us to look at a process where we group those responses together and drill to the response rather than a bomb threat, a tornado, a biohazard emergency. We train on those, but what their recommendation is to have a more effective drill process that focuses on the outcome as opposed to the actual emergency. So those were the only recommendations we had. out of 1,100. And Dan, I think we did amazing.
Yeah, we talk about the consultative model a lot, and sometimes we feel that the consultation that we get from these, I mean, these are just other CEOs from other organizations across the country. We feel like, I don't know if you'd say it's the B team, or that's awful. I should have said that. I mean, we sometimes the consultation that we get is like, yeah, whatever, like, but I felt like some of the consultation that we got was actually pretty good. I thought that the idea of kind of simplifying those drills, according to, sort of the classification of them rather than all these specifics, was actually pretty smart. I thought that they had a couple of other good recommendations. I don't know if you mentioned it. If you did, I missed it. But I'm talking again about how many organizations are moving to a performance appraisal cycle where the dates are the same. So, and we've been moving in that direction pretty consistently with different sections of us, rather than always having to be on the anniversary date, doing them all in July, for example. And that just makes it easier to budget, to plan. And so I thought that was smart. So I thought they were some good things.
Really, I agree. Dan and I talked about this survey. We opt in terms of, so everybody knows, why do we do CARF? Well, we've been CARF accredited for, we're going on 25 years now. So we've been CARF accredited for a long time. There's a lot of standards we opt into. If we just wanted to do the bare minimum, our day habilitation requires CARF accreditation. And there are agencies in Massachusetts who go that process, and it's a one-day survey. That's it. 2 surveyors come in one day. And I was talking to the admin surveyor, and she said, it's a difficult survey. They can't possibly give you all the consultation. They can only do brush strokes on seeing if anything's amiss. We opt to add services. So we have, instead of just doing day habilitation, first we opt in on the administrative side. We opt in to have our governance looked at. Many agencies don't have their governance looked at, and we want that feedback to ensure the leadership of the organization is following the highest standards and getting the benefit of the most innovative practices. We opt in for our community living, and we opt in for both our employment and our CBDS programs. And that comes at a cost. There's a cost to this, and we often consider the value that we're getting. And I really feel that we didn't have inspectors come in, we had consultants come in this time. And I felt that we got our value for the process.
The consultants that were also inspecting.
Absolutely.
Make no mistake about that. Ted, one other thing, and then I think we'll turn it over to James to get those updates from the directors. But I always say that this even applies to me as the CEO. I am so limited on having a granular, naked sort of evaluation of what's happening in all the programs. Ted's probably the closest to the executive staff of anyone that actually sees the most with their own eyes. And so I feel like this is just such a great way, and for board members, for community members, for donors, for anyone that's interested, or you can have a nice sort of veneer, a polish on the surface, and you put lipstick on a pig and make them look good. This isn't that. This is, I think, affirmation through the heart and soul of this organization that we have got some really great practices, and that we're just an outstanding organization, in the grand, compared with many peers, thousands and thousands across the world. So well done, everybody, and you should really feel such a great pride. James, can we go to you? Do you one quick thing that you appreciate hearing the most? Maybe one quick thing that you're going to be working on.
Well, 2 things, please. What I'm most proud of is the prep process, the whole for the DDS licensing and for CARF, the whole process leading up to it. My 24 years of being here, we've had CARF 25 years. So I've been here for almost all of the CARF and DDS licensing. And for the most part, I've always had an experienced and solid team to help me go through the process and help us with positive outcomes. This past survey, I didn't have that solid experienced team. And that was the biggest challenge. I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be because I was used to having Alexa here to help me. I was used to having Elder here to help me. They're very experienced. We've gone through it so many times together, and we've come out on the positive end of it. This time around, I had Mike Edwards, Ken, who were new to the process. I had that Jen, the rehab manager, is out on leave, and she was a big piece of helping us prepare for it. Amy has two new management team members under her wing, Joseph and Nick. So they'll just learn the whole process. So it was a whole new team to prep with. And I'm so proud of Amy and Mike. Amy has shown so much growth. She's gone through the process many times. And this round, Amy didn't have to be here one weekend to prepare. She was able to grow and learn and accomplish the ability to implement systems that helped her prepare for this moment. And that her team, she had the ability to teach her team, to be there, mentor them with minimal assistance from me. I was able to focus on helping Mike. He was learning something new, and Mike just showed so much growth, so much flexibility. He was able to learn and then pass on what he learned to his team to help him prepare. And the outcome was just amazing. I'm so proud of Mike and Amy, the way that they were able to go through this and be successful.
James.
The last thing I have is the positive feedback from the actual survey. Just being with the surveyors on Tuesday, hearing them talk about the way we do our community integration, the ASD program, the No Walls programs, how beautiful our day program is and welcoming that the day program is. And then also the last thing is their takeaways, not my takeaways, but their takeaways. Just hearing the surveyor say that she wants to use our case record format for her day program. She wants to use our out forms for her day program. And, you know, that's what I have to say about it. The takeaways and what I'm most proud of.
Excellent. Thank you, James. I'm going to try to reserve comments because we still have some more to go through and we're already going to be going over in our time. Elder, how about you? Could you share maybe something positive and something?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall the survey went really well, and it was a nice experience for the Martin Center that hasn't gone through it, you know, and some of the newer staff here for sure. One of the biggest things for me was the message about families and staff, whoever they talked to. Everybody had the same message that you know, the agency was so positive. They were so, you know, receptive. The managers and directors were always there for them. So, you know, every surveyor that talked to certain staff and certain families and, you know, community vendors and things like that, everybody had the same message about the agency, what was nice. One takeaway that I took from them was kind of around the human rights and about maybe posting some additional things throughout the program so that the individuals could see, not just at the yearly ISP. So I think that was one big takeaway, to have more out there in public for the individuals to see as constant reminders.
Excellent, Elder. I also like the idea that they heard great things from outside external stakeholders. Families aren't really external, but thank you for that. Brian, how about you?
Sure. So my biggest takeaway was that wherever they went, they heard the same message, which means that it's coming across strong as an agency as a whole, not just here in Westford. And the takeaway that I have that we'll use going forward is, you know, we did some preparation for CARF, but, you know, I always preach to all my staff transparency, and we're going to be at a place where we're going to be able to just say, okay, CARF's coming tomorrow. We're ready. We don't need to do crunch, you know, late nights or anything like that. We're just going to be ready and keep going with the momentum we have now.
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, I haven't been doing those weekends like I used to, but I'm glad you guys aren't having to do as many of them. Best for last, I don't know, I'll say it. Doreen, Michelle. Doreen, how about you start with the residential?
Well, I just wanted to, the biggest takeaway that I took was the same thing, the consistent message, the beauty of the homes, just how every room was individualized to the person that was living in the house. the team, the message, a lot of the residential team, when the surveyors asked, they were like, how do you feel when you get support from your supervisors? And that's thanks to the assistant managers, the associate directors, just that they're always available for me. And if I need something, I can always reach someone. And the other positive feedback was when they spoke to the families, just how happy the families were, just how the families had nothing but positive feedback for the investigators, because it doesn't always happen. And that was just really nice to hear as well. The one takeaway would be is the same thing as the other directors, just making sure that we keep all the standards up that we have, and just to keep going forward with the positivity that we received.
Doreen, you're absolutely right. Several of them commented and used similar language that the spaces were beautifully furnished, the houses were all different, reflected the taste of the people living there. We love that. Michelle, do you wanna round this out?
Hi. So I think everybody covered everything, but I figured we'd end with a funny story that they brought up at the meeting, because it took me back, about how at one of the homes, one of the individuals did not want anyone in her room. So she strategically placed a pen on the cover toilet to make sure that no one went in her room. They even wiped down everything to make sure there were no fingerprints. And it was just a funny thing that she took back to the meeting. We all laughed about it. And it just shows you, no matter how much we plan, our individuals are 10 steps ahead of us. But overall, it was a wonderful survey. We have a wonderful team. They talked about how we work collaboratively. There is just one NuPath. It was nice to hear. Overall, very pleased.
Absolutely. That's a great way to conclude that. So whatever you did, however you did it, your role in it, and I know everybody had their own role in getting us through this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It does really matter, and I'm feeling pretty good today. So, well, that is it, guys. I was thinking as I was watching that again that transparency is something we talk about, and fundamentally is so important to us all. And what better way than to let you be a fly on the wall, and to have an inside kind of look at us sharing these excellent results with our team. So I hope, whoever you are and however you connect with NuPath, that this is just another added assurance that even for the things you can't see, all of the important policies and procedures and compliance with important kinds of mandates, that we're doing all of those things. It's reassuring to me as a CEO. I can tell you that when we score well, that means we're doing something right. And we've got the most incredible team and the most incredible community. Guys, we got this. It's going to be a fantastic year. We're going to do another NuPath Live sometime soon. So wherever you are, I hope you're having you've enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.